Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Yep, it's me. I'm still here. They haven't kicked me off yet, but I'm trying my darndest. I can tell you that. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you live as we do every single day, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Question Tequila Studios. Yes, Mom, that's real tequila in there. We're downtown. We're still on Broadway. And right down the street, before we get into Gianno Caldwell, the New York Stock Exchange is feeling good on this Freaky Friday, up 150 points on some positive comments coming out of the China trade talks. Bitcoin down $1.50. You got to tune in tomorrow to hear more about Bitcoin and all that great stuff. But right now, we're in the moment. We are here, as this guy just said, joining us on set, Gianno Caldwell. He's a Republican strategist. He's the author of the book, Taken for Granted: How Conservatism Can Win Back the Americans That Liberalism Failed. Right. Gianno, I want you to answer the question.
Yeah.
How can we win them back?
How can we win back the Americans that liberalism failed? So
yes.
In order for me to explain it, I have to tell you my story.
Please do.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, extremely poor, lights, gas, and water off at the same time. Mom addicted to crack cocaine. I got involved in politics after having an experience with my grandfather one day riding through an area of Chicago called Inglewood. As we were riding through, I see a lady who appears to be addicted to drugs. She looked beat up. I thought it was my mother, and I began to tear up. And at that particular point, my grandfather saw me, and in his very southern voice, he says, "What's wrong with you, boy?" And I say, "This lady, what can I do to prevent it from happening?" And he tells me about the elected officials, the power that they have to create grant funding for those who want to be rehabilitated, the power that they have to create stiffer penalties of law for those who sell and distribute drugs. And I, the very next week, started getting involved and volunteering for my local alderman. At that point, seeing the Democratic politics on the ground in Chicago, having an inside view, I noticed that the liberal politicians came into the city, into the neighborhoods year after year, making promises and commitment, but never delivering on a one of them. Not a one. Not a one. Going into our churches and never delivering on one promise. So at that particular point, I began to learn the distinctions of the conservative movement and the Democrats. And in the conservative movement, I saw a land of opportunity. I saw that I could capitulate to my faith. I saw that I can be an entrepreneur and not have to capitulate to any form of victimhood. And what I saw from there is a better life for myself.
So you think in some aspects of your faith and bringing faith back into our culture as part of getting some of those people back to conservatism?
Well, let's think about what Kanye West is doing. I think he's a classic example of that. He comes out with an album, which is #1 by every measure of the imagination. He's bringing folks to Christ, and he's telling African Americans specifically, own your power. You don't have to be a Democrat. And I think that's important. When we think about the Democratic Party, in today's form, you got African Americans voting over 90% for Democrats, but what have they delivered?
Nothing.
Exactly. Now we have a president in office, his name is Donald Trump, and he's delivering in an amount of 2 to 3 years things African Americans have been asking for decades. The lowest unemployment rate in the history of our country for African Americans. First step back, we're talking literal criminal justice reform.
7 million people out of poverty, 8.5 million people off food stamps, $5,000, a $5,000 increase in 2.5 years in median household income. Obama in 8 years had $1,000, so it's like $120 a year. George Bush had like $800, which is like $50, $100 a year. Trump has blown those numbers away in 2.5 years.
Right.
Median household income up $5,000.
And look what he's doing for manufacturing, all these industries that people thought were gone. When he said that he was bringing manufacturing back, they said it was a lie. Couldn't be done. He added 500,000 jobs to the economy in 2018.
So
that's it.
First, before we delve a little bit more into your book and politics in general, curious about your analysis of the day's top story, the news that broke right before we went on air, that Roger Stone's been convicted of 7 counts, including lying to Congress and witness tampering. Any thoughts on either the Stone case generally or what it might mean for Donald Trump?
Well, I'm not sure what particularly it would mean for Donald Trump, but certainly the Democrats are going to try to increase their narrative. I believe in this impeachment hearing just to say that Roger Stone had been convicted. I mean, that's what it is. It's a media narrative to build a case against President Trump. At this particular point, I know the Democrats realize that they don't have, from a policy standpoint, any measurement of a vehicle that can beat President Donald Trump. So what do? They use Congress as a political tool
Yep.
to attack the president because that's the only way that they think they can beat him. Certainly they can't beat him at the ballot box.
Let me ask you this. The head of the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, in my view, is like an oxymoron. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, a guy has zero intelligence, from what I can comprehend, and he's in charge of the Intelligence Committee.
Right, made
The
up
whole
an
thing is
entire
like
phone call.
Kabuki theater, the
Right,
whole thing.
right.
There's only one person on earth who could talk directly to the whistleblower. Let's coach him up, bring him in a few times. Here's what we need you to say. Here's the two people that'll corroborate your story. We'll fill them in later. Now we're going to have those hearings, everyone. The whistleblower, where are you? I don't know.
Right.
Shouldn't the public know what's happening?
I think it's important if Democrats were very serious about an impeachment hearing, if they were very serious about it, they would rely on full transparency. They would bring in the Republicans that they can have the full rights that they did during the impeachment hearing, that both sides had equality in terms of witnesses and being able to compel witnesses to come and testify. And that's where it becomes problematic. So 52% of Americans believe that Democrats have botched this impeachment inquiry.
Let me play for you a video of Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, at this rally with President Trump yesterday. And I know there's a big election in Louisiana tomorrow, so we're all seeing how this turns out. But I thought his comments about elitists were pretty interesting. Take a look at Senator Kennedy.
Like some of the folks in Washington, D.C., I'm talking about the cultured, cosmopolitan, goat's milk latte drinking, avocado toast eating insiders elite. As a deplorable, I believe that everybody counts.
So in the final 30 seconds that we have, I'm curious if you concur that there is sort of a disconnect between those in the Beltway and those outside, and if maybe kind of the blue-collar conservatism of Donald Trump can actually help win over some more urban voters, not only blacks, but other minorities.
Well, I talk about in my book, Taken for Granted, how conservatism can win back the Americans that liberalism failed. Is certainly President Trump has not just made an impact in all of America. We talk about the 7 million jobs that have been added to the economy since he got in these many different sectors that people thought were discounted. He's also made a great, great impact, and I believe from a policy perspective, been the most impactful president for African Americans in my lifetime. In addition to what he's done for the folks in the Appalachian region, people who were traditionally Democrats, who've come over and see the progress and success made under this president.
You got to go out and find the book by Gianno Caldwell, Taken for Granted. And where can people get Taken
Any
for Granted?
major retailer, and I ask that people follow me on social media at Gianno Caldwell, Gianno Caldwell, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Taken for Granted, How Conservatism Can Win Back the Americans That Liberalism Failed, is out there. You got to go get it. You got to come back on with us.
Thank you.
again.
But that drink looked like it's been taken for granted. You
I
got
am
to
taking-
drink
I
more
am
of that.
taking it for granted.
More.
We're not taking you for
More.
granted because we love you the most. You're our audience and you're our favorite customers. So stay right there. We're going to come back after this. I know we showed the promo a couple of times for Mix It Up, but we haven't mixed it up yet. We're going to mix it up with Rich Valdez and John McDonough right after this. Stay right there.